Okay, so this is the assessment process. Hold on, did it even work? Okay, sorry. This is the assessment process for qualifying for special education. This is by Angela and Samantha. The first thing we need to think about when you're becoming a teacher, when you're referring a student for testing, is what qualifies a student or what makes a teacher want to refer a student for testing. The homeroom teacher or the general education teacher is typically the first responder to a student who shows a learning difference. So they're the first one who notices that a child is unable to maybe work at the same speed as the rest of the class. Maybe they've been working on reading for 3 years and they're still unable to identify their phonemes, which is the letter sounds, and their graphemes. Maybe they can't tell you that an A is an A. Maybe they can't tell you both sounds a vowel would make. Maybe they can't identify the double sounds, like C makes a S and a K sound, and G makes a J and a G sound. How long have they been working on this, and how many interventions have been in place as they've been working on it? We can look at the student's cume to see what the previous teacher has been doing to really start the red flag. Second grade is when we have a real chance to put up those red flags because they have had 2 years of work, so they should have serious growth, and they should also have a steady stream of interventions if that's needed to happen. And they potentially have already been SST'd. So we can look to see what work has been done already with this child. Baseline assessments are given to the entire class, not just students who are a concern for a student. And with those baselines, the teacher is able to create norms and track growth. So we can see, hey, this is where we're starting, and this is where we're moving. So here are some examples of some beginning of the year assessments. In reading, the teacher may give the basic phonics skills test, which is otherwise known as the BPST. The BPST is a test that should be given to every primary student, so kindergarten, first, and second grade. The student should be past the BPST by the time they're in second grade. By the time the end of second grade. The BPST assesses things like, do you know an A is an A? Do you know an A makes an A sound and an ah sound? Do you know the hard sounds? Do you know the soft sounds? Do you know the different sounds of the alphabet? Do you know the digraphs, which are things like th and sh and ch? Do you know the blends, which are like tr and cr? Can you identify those? Then it moves to items such as, can you read a consonant vowel consonant word, which is called a CVC word? Do you know that ed makes red? Moving down the list, we go to words that have vowel blends or vowel combinations, excuse me. So for example, read is spelled R-E-A-D. Are you able to identify that E makes an E sound because the vowel is next to it? Can you identify silent E sounds? For example, the word Pete. Do you know that the E at the end makes the E say its name, the first E, excuse me, say its name? Then we look at R controlled vowels. Things like sorry, that's wrong. But do you know that the vowel is silent next to an R because of the R in the word? And then we can look to two-syllable words and all the different types of letter patterns and sound patterns in words. It's super essential because it's the first step of intervention. It tells you so much information for a student that is struggling to read. The next form of assessment is called the running record, and this is unfortunately sometimes not given anymore past third grade. But the running record really gives the teacher the chance to assess a student's fluency, so how smoothly they read, and their comprehension, how much they remember and can work with the information that they have read. There are many, many different running record programs. Some examples are Fountas and Pinnell. Reading A to Z has their own assessment. There's assessments all over the place. Some teachers create their own running records based on leveled books. The important thing is that you are hearing the student read, you are taking notes as they read. There are notes that are everybody uses so that you can all read each other's running record. Ideally, if you have a child who's struggling to read, you can go back and read the running records of previous years to see, oh, they're continuing to make this mistake, or this word always trips them up. Are they sight words that are messing them up, or are they, we call them rule breakers, or words that are irregular? What's really hurting this child? And it's these two assessments are really essential to understanding why a child is maybe struggling and to give the appropriate intervention. There are also like assessments like the STAR reading test and the MAPS test, and there's a ton of different reading assessment tests, but these are two really basic skills tests that should be given from kindergarten, first, and second grade and on up, but the BPST should be passed by the end of second grade. Another assessment we have is a number sense assessment. So this is sometimes the math curriculum you use has a beginning of the year assessment. So you can look at the skills that they'll be learning throughout the year and decide how well they have the attainment of those skills. So you can use that as, are they growing? Are they staying the same? Through assessments throughout the year. Another really important thing that teachers do is they assess number sense. In kindergarten, you might say, hey, do you know the difference between a letter and a number? Can you count to 10? Can you count to 20? In first grade, you might say, hey, do you understand that 10 and 2, maybe not 10 and 2, maybe 12 is 10 and 2? Do you understand other basic can you put these basic numbers together? Do you know that 5 plus 1 more would make 6? In second grade, you look to see, hey, do you know that 152 is 150 and 2 added together? Do you know these basic place values? Can you take these numbers apart? Can you add them up within 20 with automaticity? Can you do it fluently? In third grade, they might test math facts like 1, 2, 5, and 10. They also might test its student's ability to regroup. We used to call it borrowing and carrying. Can the student borrow and carry or regroup using those numbers, basically taking them apart while they're adding and subtracting without taking them apart physically or, on paper? In fourth grade, it's very basic to have